instead of giving our children all the things that we wish that we could have had in our childhood, instead we're going to teach them all the things that we wish that we had been taught. Isn't that pretty cool? I thought that was neat. I was like, huh, that's actually, yeah, I actually really like that.
Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where you'll learn tips and strategies that will empower you to home educate your children. I'm Leigh Nguyen, a homeschool mom of over 12 years, which includes 2 graduates. When I started homeschooling, I was pretty much on my own and was desperate for encouragement and help. My mission is to be a source of encouragement and help to you. Whether you are just beginning your homeschool journey or you're deep into the homeschool lifestyle, Little by Little Homeschool wants to help you stay the course, because all the time you are investing into your children is completely worth it. If you're ready to take your homeschool to new levels, keep listening.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty here of why you need to stop chasing a perfect homeschool, and I want to share with you what to do and what to focus on instead, I'm really excited about this topic. I wanted to throw out there just one more final reminder that the workshop that I have called Reimagine Your Homeschool is only open today and tomorrow. It will close on Friday, January 10th, 2025. And when I say workshop, I guess there was some questions that some moms had. This is a pre-recorded workshop. You can watch it and go through it at any time. I know how your time is valuable, and having a specific time is really hard. So I want you to do it when it's going to be easiest for you. So you can join at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/homeschool reset. The link is also in the show notes. And this program, this workshop, is going to help equip you as we make this transition to the second half of the homeschool year after having some type of Christmas break, whether you took a couple days off, a couple weeks, or the entire month of December. And it's going to just help you to reset and refresh. And we're going to talk about some of the things we're going to talk about today, but we're going to go really way more in depth in Reimagine Your Homeschool, and you're going to have all of the resources that you need as well to be able to put a little bit more meat on the bones, we'll say, of what we're going to talk about today. So here, let's get into why you need to stop chasing a perfect homeschool. I have this statement that I used to make all the time. I don't make it anymore. It's kind of a little bit, became a joke with my husband. And I would say to him, I would have the week all planned out, homeschool and everything else with motherhood and homemaking on a Sunday. And I would say, this is the week. This is the week that is going to be perfect. Come Monday sometimes, I might even make it to Wednesday or Thursday and finally admit, throw my hands up in the air and say, this is not the week. And we would joke about it. I don't say it anymore because I know that every week is going to have its trials, it's going to have its things that are going to come up, it's going to have its roadblocks, it's going to have its detours, because that's just what happens. So if you also are thinking like, this is the week, and there has to be a week that is going to be perfect, because right now you probably imagine that all the other homeschool moms that you know or that you see online, that they have an amazing homeschool, and your homeschool, it stinks. That's what you think. You probably even think mine is all sunshine and roses every day, and that it always was. My kids were always cooperative and perfect and prim and proper. No, negative, Ghost Rider. That just definitely did not happen. We had some great years, and we had some highs, and we had some lows, and a lot of the time, it was just right there in between. We were just chugging along. We are all on this journey that God has called us to, this homeschool journey, and often, it's unexpectedly. Most of us did not assume that we were going to be homeschooling, so that's why I say it was unexpectedly that we are now a homeschool mom, and we can lean into what God has for us right now, the sanctification, the lessons, the learning that He has for us, as well as for our children and our family as a whole, and we can lean into that, or we could push against it and not lean into it. And I hope that you choose to lean into it. Oftentimes it can feel easier in the short term to not lean into it. But once you do lean into God's sanctification and the growth He has for you, it's just so much better down the road. I like to say to my kids, what is the decision right now that your future self is going to be thankful for? We use that a lot with, as I'm trying to train some habits right now, I'm really trying to work with my 16-year-old on his bedroom. And I have given up. I gave up a couple years on it because I was like, I can't. He has so many little gadgets and so many things, and I'm afraid I'm going to throw away something that I shouldn't throw away. So we've been working on that. And I'm like, what does your future self wish that you would do right now? Maybe vacuum your bedroom? Maybe clean up your desk some there? He's got a huge workstation desk and shelves and all kinds of things. But we can lean into it, and there's just so much for you that he has for you on the other side of that. But our homeschool is never going to be perfect because guess what? We are not perfect. We are not perfect people. We are sinful people in a sinful world, and we must learn to navigate through the world and grow in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, the fruit of the Spirit. And we can have that peace that he will equip us as homeschool moms. He will equip you as a homeschool mom. You might right now be in a desperate situation with one of your children. There might just be this huge roadblock, or your relationship just isn't in the right place. You have concerns maybe about their learning. Maybe you're seeing some disability possibly, or you're seeing something there that just is hard. Lean into that and know that he will equip you. He'll give you, look for his light to shine just that next step. Who is somebody maybe that you can reach out and ask some questions of, that you can just take that next step. Don't worry about the end result, what it's going to be, what the solution is going to be for that child. Just take that next step. And my hope is that today's episode is going to equip you, and you can then continue this conversation in Reimagine Your Homeschool, and that will equip you even more. But this is a really good place to start, so stay with me here. Now, what are the areas and the things that you really should lean into? So we've established that homeschool is never going to be perfect. There's going to be some really good days, some really good weeks, months, possibly even some really good years, and even just really good moments. And that's sometimes what we have to look at it as, is just like this moment that we're in right now with our children. So there's going to be some really good ones, and there's going to be some ups and downs, and there's going to be some that are going to be downright hard and downright rough. And so it's never going to be perfect, but it can be so good. Overall, we can look back and say, nope, it wasn't perfect, because there is no season in life that is perfect. But we can look back and say, it was good. And I want you to have peace that it can be good. So let's talk about what you should focus on and what you should lean into instead. I've got 3 things here for you. The first one is your family culture. Really evaluate and be honest with yourself about what is your family like. And then embrace that. Stop looking at everybody else, what everybody else is doing. Not that those aren't helpful. It's helpful to see what other people are doing because they can inspire you. They can give you ideas. Sometimes as homeschool moms, we're just so drained when it comes to the new ideas that we can look at somebody else and feel refreshed and invigorated and be like, ooh, maybe that's what we could do. And that'll add something a little bit more to our homeschool. Or, this geography program has been pretty much of a drag for us. And this is how this other family is doing geography. Or, this other family didn't do a specific geography curriculum. They just tied in geography with the rest of what they're doing. Maybe that'll work for me. So your family culture is a combination of your family's habits, your traditions, your values, your beliefs, and more. But those are really the crux of it right there. Your family's habits, traditions, values, and beliefs. So really stop and look at, what are my family's habits? What traditions do we like and do we do? What do we value? What do we believe? And when you really stop and look at that, you'll get a really good picture of what your family culture is. And you have a family culture. Everybody has a family culture. Don't say you don't, because you do. It just might not be really clear until maybe you take some time and you write it down and really stop and think. Talk to your husband, observe your children, ask your children if they're old enough to kind of understand some of these questions. Ask them, what does it look like that our family values? And write those down. I think you'll get a really clear picture of what your family culture is. And then embrace that. Think about, what do you like to do? And what do you maybe not like to do? Now, as far as the what do you like to do, anything is fine and on the table as long as it's not illegal, right? Or that it does not contradict the Bible. then it's okay. Your family likes to hike. Embrace that. Your family likes to have tea time and discuss literature. Embrace that. You might like to do both of them. I tend to find a lot of families like to do one or the other, and that's okay. You as parents often will set the tone of the family culture, at least in the very beginning with your children. When they're really young, it's just the two of you. Now, there are things that you probably liked and enjoyed doing when you're dating and when you're newlyweds, and then you add in children and you continue to do those things, or some things you're like, it just really isn't feasible for us to do this certain thing or to have this certain hobby anymore. We're going to put that aside, and you come up with new things. And then as our kids get older and their personalities emerge, then that becomes a part of our family culture as well. The family culture that I have with my family is not what it was when they were all younger. It has just kind of morphed and changed, but there's still that foundation. But as my kids have gotten older and their personalities, and the ones with bigger personalities and the opinions of teenagers and young adults just all come in to play, but your family culture. So look at that. And you might think, why is that important? It really is important because it's going to help you make decisions as to what is important for you and your family. It's going to help you decide some of those really critical things when it comes to homeschool, how you're going to spend your time and what curriculum you're going to purchase. The second thing that I really think you need to look at instead is to take a look at what is your vision. Now we go into this way in depth in a Reimagine Your Homeschool. So we're just going to kind of do like an overview of it, and you'll be able to still come up with a pretty good vision for yourself and your family. But what is your overall goal? What is your purpose for homeschool? Why are you homeschooling? What are you doing here with all of this? What is, where do you see all of this going? What is the end result or goal that you have? And the statement I like to make often is, who are the young adults that you want to put out into the world? That is a part of your vision. What do you see as far as your kids, like their experiences? What do you want them to have spent time on? What do you want them to have learned? What do you want them to have absorbed into their heart? And how do you want to equip them? What are the skills? What are just the things that maybe you want them to know? I saw this reel recently, and it said something about, instead of giving our children all the things that we wish that we could have had in our childhood, instead we're going to teach them all the things that we wish that we had been taught. Isn't that pretty cool? I thought that was neat. I was like, that's actually, I actually really like that. Instead of giving them all of the toys and all the gadgets and all the things, because as kids, you want things, right? We just got done with Christmas, and your kids might have had a long Christmas list and a lot of things that they wanted. Instead of giving them everything that they want, because what happens? Those toys often get discarded, they get broken, they move on to something else. The technology, you give them some type of technology, a phone, iPad, whatever it is, it'll eventually be the lowest version out there, right? Or it'll break. It won't be able to function. There'll be better things that are out there. But instead of that, what if we spend time on teaching them the things that we wish we were equipped with? So that can be a part of your vision as well. The third area to really lean into and look at is your goals. Now, yes, God is going to establish our steps, as it says in Proverbs 16:9, but He's given you a brain, right? How about you use it? Use it to stop and to think and to ponder and to observe and to look at your children and to come up with goals. If we are just wandering around aimlessly, guess what? We're not going to be able to reach some certain goals. And I'm not saying you have to say, as children, I want you to become entrepreneurs and each of you earn $1 million before the end of high school. That doesn't have to be what the goal is. It could be broader goals. You could have goals such as wanting your children to be deeply rooted in the Bible and having a biblical worldview. You want them to have gone through certain studies and discuss certain theology. Or maybe you have your trips and stuff and vacations and destinations are important, and that's maybe a part of your family culture, right? And then you can tie this into your goals and experiences that you want your kids to have. But you can also go back to when I was talking about that Instagram reel that I saw and the skills that you want your kids to have. You can come up with goals. Goals are actually really fun, and they don't have to be set in stone. They can change, And I highly recommend if you're trying to come up with some goals, just come up with some goals for right now, just for your family as a whole when it comes to homeschool. And then once you feel comfortable creating those goals and then putting the steps into place to reach those goals, then go ahead and break it down and look at each individual child, maybe just for the next couple of months. And the more that you set goals and the more that then you reverse engineer to say, how can we reach that goal with this child? Then you'll become more comfortable with it. Now, these goals can be ones that you talk to your kids about. You can get their input. So let's do an example of a goal when it comes specifically to homeschool and academics. You might have a child that's struggling reading, and you might say, you know what? They have all of they're equipped, basically. They're equipped to be able to read. They have that desire, but there's just something that's just not quite clicking. And a goal could be, by the end of this year, I want to see that they have made some progress. The end of this homeschool year, which is 4, 5, 6 months away, I guess, somewhere, depending on when you finish up and wrap up your homeschool year. But looking at it and saying, okay, what can I do? Well, a simple thing might be to read to them more often. Maybe have them read aloud once in a while, and they might feel really uncomfortable. And you say, we're just going to do this, just you and I. There's nobody else, no other siblings, nobody else here to read for you to read out loud and maybe mess up or something. But you're like, you know what? I'm going to just also provide them with any books that they say that they want to read. Well, within reason. Again, let's go back to that as long as it's not illegal or biblically contradicting the Bible. So then you can say, okay, I'm going to make sure that they have what they need or they want, books from the library and such that they can read. And maybe say, you know what? I think that I need to read to them more or to provide more audiobooks. And so come up with a goal. So that would be the goal of them just moving closer to being able to read. Because we can't say, by the end of this homeschool year, I want my child to be able to read proficiently. That's what they do in the public school. They say by the end of kindergarten, they need to be reading at a certain level and know a certain amount of words and be able to read. Typically, they teach kids in the way of sight words, I think is overall. I'm not going to get into that. Wow, I didn't even know how deep of a pit that can get to. I've read books, I've listened to podcasts and audiobooks and all kinds of things. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that was so controversial to some people. But just looking and saying, okay, we want like a manageable goal. You don't have to come up with a specific of this certain thing. Now, you can come up with something more specific. And this actually I really enjoy, especially with the middle school and the high school years, and say, you know what, I want to go through a certain theology course with them during this homeschool year, or I want to go through a certain biblical worldview, or I want to, as they get older, I want that to have them explore and look into future options for careers or next steps for them. So those are goals. So the 3 things, again, is to evaluate your family culture, create a vision, and then set some goals. This is what we're going to do together in Reimagine Your Homeschool. If you are interested, it is only open until tomorrow, Friday, January 10th, 2025. And I would love to be able to see you over there. And all the information is at the link of littlebylittlehomeschool.com/homeschool reset. And together we are going to refresh and reset and reimagine your homeschool for the rest of this homeschool year, so that you then realize now after this episode, it's not going to be perfect, but it can be good, and it can be really good. And I want your homeschool to be really good. So I look forward to seeing you over there at Reimagine Your Homeschool, but hurry up. You only have until January 10th.
Thank you for listening, friend. I'd love to connect with you more. You can find social media links in the show notes and share this episode with a friend who could use a boost to her homeschool. See you back here real soon.